Mental health knows no boundaries when it comes to socioeconomic status, backgrounds, you name it. It is definitely equal opportunity as it comes to mental health issues.
While that is true, mental illness issues are affecting college students at a much higher rate, now more than ever before.
We, I think, don't appreciate the college transition as being one of the most challenging periods in one's life.
Obviously, there's a huge amount of stress that students are dealing with, and I think it's coming at them from all areas. You know, I think it's personal lives, I think it's difficulties with relationships, I think it's difficulty with the transition from adolescence into adulthood, you know, that identity stage of, you know, who am I, trying to figure out my role.
There's more and more college students that are working. Some of them are taking care of, you know, loved ones at home. Some of them are parents and they're taking care of their kids.
College is a time of transition. College is a time of identity development. College is a time where we're trying to figure, you know, ourselves out. But I think it's a little harder when you don't have the time for that. And there's a lot of distraction and things getting in the way of you connecting with yourself.
With the lingering trauma brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic, it's easy to see how the road to college success is beset with pitfalls to a number of mental diseases.
Coming back from the pandemic, we're seeing this really big shift in the way that people are just not comfortable interacting with one another.
And I think instructors were noticing that students were not only not engaged, but they were also more emotional. And as they were reaching out to students, trying to connect and kind of saying, hey, what's going on? Students were more, you know, they were more willing to share, I'm having a hard time.
For students, we often think about academic symptoms, and when we talk to instructors, we want them to be aware of that because they're often the first people who might notice some of these symptoms in their students.
What we were noticing from the college behavioral intervention team was a lot of instructors were referring students that seemed like they weren't connecting in class. They weren't showing up for class. They were falling asleep during, you know, Zoom calls, or they would come to class and then not come to class for several weeks and fall behind.
Once symptoms are recognized, it is important to get a diagnosis.
The things that we look for are the severity of their symptoms, the frequency, and the duration.
The big difference between just having a bad day or two and maybe having something that could be a diagnosis or could need additional help is if it's persistent.
I find that people come and seek help about a week to 2 weeks in because they're not functioning the way they used to. People are concerned about them, and they realize that they're not going to just snap out of it on their own, and they'll seek help.
What stops most people from seeking help is the stigma associated with mental illness.
Sometimes people view things in mental health as being a sign of weakness. I've been through something and it didn't bother me, why should this bother you? And that could not be more further from the truth.
For a lot of people, family, even though it can be a great source of support, can also sometimes be a big obstacle toward getting help. And if the message that they're getting from the family is that they just need to toughen up, or they just need to get over it, or they just need to stop doing that, that kind of mentality has held us back in many ways.
What you need to know is that it is vitally important to make the first step towards good mental health.
I really do think that the first step is always to say, you know what, I'm not feeling okay. Like something just doesn't seem quite right and I need help. And there's no shame in asking for help.
Once you're in the door and get the appointment, I think that's the hard part is over. But it's kind of getting that courage to make the appointment and to call and get set up. But once you're in our office and you're meeting with us, students will often tell us that it wasn't as scary as they thought it would be. Or they'll say, gosh, I waited like 3 months to call. I've been thinking about it for a long time. But now, I'm glad I finally did.
I would want to tell you, if you were willing to come to me and express some kind of struggle you've dealt with, I would first want to just acknowledge the fact that it took a lot of courage even to be willing to speak up.
If a student at COD is looking for help, they can really go to anyone at COD. The campus is a caring community, and so we at COD train faculty and staff in terms of where to bring a student who is kind of stating that they need some help.
Just understand you're not alone. at all. In fact, you're probably in the majority of people who are not feeling well, and that's normal. And it can also be helpful possibly to seek out some help if you really need it, because that too is normal.
Coming up in our treatment segment, find out about the many tools professionals use to treat mental illness. If you are thinking of suicide or hurting yourself, dial 988 immediately. The Suicide and Crisis Helpline provides free, confidential support. Help is waiting 24 hours a day, every day.